And we are live.
Sweet.
Hey, look, check out my sweet calves. My legs. Look at that.
They
Look
are
at that.
super set. The
Delicious.
socks really put it over
No
the top.
holes either.
No. No. Not in the socks.
I have way too much power having a podcast that I can do this and force people to look at my feet.
Well, you have it so far.
Well, yeah.
Uh-huh.
After this episode, people might commandeer it completely away. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Conservatish, featuring Peter Feliciano. I am Peter Feliciano, and there's a new episode every Monday and Thursday, so make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to iTunes, subscribe to Spotify, wherever the hell you're listening to this, and leave us a review, or I'll find you and I'll kill you. And that is protected by free speech, because actually it's not protected by free speech.
No,
it's a threat of violence.
Yeah,
but it's not a joke. I will find you and I will
feeling
murder
less
you in
sick.
front of your children.
Send help.
I'll peel off your face and I'll laugh while I'm doing it. I'll break your teeth in with the butt of my hand, with my wrist, and I'll, as you're screaming through blood, I'll masturbate onto your face.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Right.
And good night. Be sure to tip your waitress.
Our wonderful guest today is David.
Hi.
Do you want to go by a last name too?
Sure.
David Walsh.
That one? We're going with that one? All right.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. You and I have known each other since probably 2015, I think January, or maybe end of 2014. You and I got to know each other through the ULUV music connection.
That is true.
What was your ride with that like?
The ULUV music community was extraordinary. It was a nonprofit, as you know, that was trying to connect musicians together, to introduce them together, so that they can work together, put on shows together, record albums together.
Bay Area specifically?
San Francisco, Bay Area, and started to stretch even further. This was our home base right here.
Right.
And I have to give a big shout out to Robin Applewood and Elizabeth Irby, Michael Starita, and Hector Corral for being the founders of ULUV, ULUV Music. You can still look it up. Although we are not actively working with ULUV anymore, it gained its own momentum during the course of us putting on our own concert.
Right.
We had 111 Mina. We had the whole street cordoned off. Nice. The city was big thumbs up for live music event and supporting that creative art. We had 3 stages. We had 1 stage outdoor and 2 stages indoor, and we had live music playing all day and all night. It was phenomenal.
I'm so Facebook friends with a lot of those guys.
Absolutely, and that was really the gist of it. Is what we just wanted to create a network for musicians to meet and greet each other and support each other. And now they are in fact doing shows together and have been for years, doing albums together and recording albums for each other. And it was a magical time. Right. It really was. Yeah. There was ULUV Music Day, which is where I met you. Which is where you and I met that day, where we had over 100 musicians at over 40, possibly even 50 different locations across San Francisco. Right. Playing music all morning and all afternoon.
And then at night, meeting all descending upon Dolores Park.
Yes.
And performing all together, a couple of jams and things like that.
Yeah. We sang a couple songs together. There were probably 200 plus people that showed up for that, fans and musicians alike. And an official from the city actually came down and gave us the official paperwork to make ULUV Music Day an official day in San Francisco, which I do believe is this month, June 21st.
Nice.
So, there.
So, good timing that you're on the podcast then.
I know. Hi.
Hello, Robin and Kenny and Elizabeth and all you guys too. I met you, I guess that day. Did we perform together? Or maybe I performed right after you, I think. Maybe I performed. Was it 2014? I think it was 2014. Because I remember I went to a party with you where I met Lizzie Carr. Yes. January of 2015. So I'm assuming it's 2014 when I met you at ULUV Music Day.
I'm not good with math.
Well, it's history. not math, technically.
I told you I'm bad.
I think I met you at the pizza place on Columbus, I want to say. It was like a pizza place or a cafe on Columbus, where Little Italy area.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, and I was there was a small kind of stage-ish area right outside.
Yes.
And I performed there, I think right after you, right before you, in red shorts. And I remember yelling at the buses going by, singing like, you know.
I do remember that, and that was actually my spot. I was in charge of that. It was Cafe Roma.
There we go. Yeah,
it was Cafe Roma. Wow, that was lifetimes ago.
Yes, it was. Sir.
Good lordy begordies. Yeah,
don't say that.
Yeah, lordy begordies. That was a long time ago, and I'm so grateful that happened because we've been making fun of each other and making each other
for 4.5 years now,
from laughter ever since.
Or sexual arousal, one or the other. Because I'm not laughing a lot
I misspoke.
When you lay down on tarps and and we see how much.
This is where it spirals downward.
You see how much you can swallow and keep in your mouth at the same time.
We almost made it 5 minutes in.
I don't think we did. I started off telling people I was going to masturbate on their face.
Why did I do that? I blanked that part right out.
Because this is what I'm saying. It's so funny to do this podcast because it's melding of worlds that should never be around each other. No one from the cool, hip, like music community, the ULUV music community, should know how I interact with you. I think it's a bad move.
No,
it's a bad move for the both of us.
You mean most people?
Right. Most human beings should not know.
Yes.
What you and I.
Absolutely not.
But
it's atrocious.
And then how did you meet Will? How did you meet my brother? Was it just Facebook? Have you ever met him in person?
I met him in person for the first time at your show over in Oakland. Your show. No.
Was it Lizzie's album release party?
Lizzie's album release party. That's what it was.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it wasn't Slim's, though. It was that I can't remember the name of it. I'm horrible with music venues. Sorry, music venues. Sorry. The one over in Oakland. On that street. Damn it.
What street? What are you even saying? Legionnaire? Was it Legionnaire?
No.
Was it...
Keep going.
Oh, fuck it. There's only like 5 of them. I don't know.
There's a big, burly security guard motorcycle tattooed dude named Cupcake. The bartender is the lead singer for a Rob Halford cover band.
All right,
I remember those things, but I don't remember
what the hell you're talking about.
Anyway,
I
met Will there.
Okay.
Oh, he was playing drums that night. Didn't he play drums that night?
For me?
We're gonna have to edit all this.
Oh. Okay. Wait.
Your family was there. I met your dad for the first time. I met Will your first time. I met your other brother for the first time.
Okay. We're talking about it's Albany.
Is it just me?
Albany or El Cerrito? It's
the other Oakland
Ivy Room.
That's the one.
Ivy Room.
Yeah, sure. Oakland. I meant to do air
Lizzie
quotes
came
for
to
Oakland.
Town last year.
Yes.
And we did a couple of her songs, and I performed once or twice or something.
Yeah, you did.
And
you guys were amazing.
Just
amazing. Yeah.
And you and I also have, besides just being filthy together, we know Damien Alvarez.
Yes.
Damien Alvarez, the flamenco star himself.
He is extraordinary. That dude's got crazy presence.
If you need a flamenco dancer, the two people that are I love them to death is Bianca Rodriguez and Damien Alvarez. Incredible people.
Absolutely.
And you and I can't remember exactly how. I think because I performed a lot for the gay community in the area, and I did the Bare Chest Calendar Finals.
Yes, I was there for that.
2014 and 2015.
Oh, I did the first one.
And in 2015, that's exactly the time. So 2015 was my second time, and we wanted to do something different. So I had been, I don't know how I met Damien, but I met Damien, and he was like, "Do you know any like cajon players or any?" I was like, "Of course I do." Yeah. So I reached out to you because you play the cajon.
I do.
And we did a couple of shows. where I would play guitar and you would play cajón, and he would dance, and we called ourselves what, Flamenco Mafia?
The Flamenco Mafia.
I kind of liked Pink Flamencos. I kind of like that name.
I was okay with either.
Yeah.
I was comfortable with it.
I don't remember where Damien landed on, but anyway, we only did it like twice, maybe 2 or 3 times.
It was a handful. Yeah, and then there were a couple others that we were like, oh, we have to shoot over to this. We had to leave one show to go do a show, and then we had to go back to the show.
Right. Because there was a damn. We did. I think it was DNA Lounge, and then we jetted over to what's that place in the Mission?
Oh, here we go again.
Oh my God! There's
in Oakland,
belly dancing. No. Damn you! It was. This is what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of. See, in thinking about moving to New York, I know. Yes. That there are a lot of places that have been very good to me, and a lot of people have been very good to me. But in my career, it's sad, but it's also time for me to move on. And when I look back, when I reflect back, like even with you, where I'm like, oh, remember this, remember that. It's really cool to do that, but it's also like, it went out of focus. But it's also, what in the hell is going on? You see that? What did you do?
Interesting.
You ruined something. I had a nice poignant moment.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. But it was strange. It's strange to reflect because it's also like, look at how long I've been doing this, which is not as long as other motherfuckers. It's not as whatever, but it just kind of feels like, okay, yeah, I've done this. I've done this for upwards of 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. And it's just like, I feel like it's time for me to shoot bigger. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be a lot of good memories and shit, a lot of really good people, a lot of, but it's also just, it's sad and unknown and fuck, it's just heavy.
Are you trying to make me cry or?
No, God damn it. But you know what I'm saying? It's just like, I mean, a lot of people, even Kenny Crowley moved across the country and.
Oh, many have spread their wings.
Mimi Spire went to fucking, where'd she go? Nashville.
Yep.
Lizzie went to Austin. Yep. Lila Rose went to L.A.
Yep.
Omer Gal and Cookie Tongue, shout out Cookie Tongue, went to Brooklyn. Did you ever meet Cookie Tongue?
I don't think that I did. Did I miss that on that?
Oh,
a little bit.
I love them so much, and I've talked about them many times, but I'll just shout out this little skinny Jewish kid. He's like 30 now, but like he's got this fro-ish, like crazy hair, and when I first met him, he had a girlfriend in the band who, it was just him and another, and the girl would play violin and scream. That was her job. Like, she would play violin, very beautiful, and then from time to time, and it was just like, wow. And he was just,
that's wonderful.
Take the collar red, put it on your head. It's so fun and
I'm
goofy.
Sorry,
and
I missed
quirky.
that.
They're still doing stuff. Check them out on YouTube. Cookie
I would
Tongue.
like to. I will.
And now
check that out.
his cohort in the band paints herself all in white and wears like wolf skin dresses and like,
I like that.
Dances around creepy and also sings, and like they're a perfect mix for each other because they're both at one time very courageous and very strange, but also very strange and sacred about it. They're also into like the traditions and these are from our fathers, like very like into like old worldly stuff. But then also,
now you're speaking my language.
But he also put a theremin and made a theremin out of a doll. Like put paper mache around like the shape of a man and like hung him like he was levitating. I was like, woo. Like it was.
I know so many people who are going to love this.
I'm the only one in that. I went and saw them in Brooklyn because I went and visited. They moved out there, and I'm going out there, and I want to do shows with them, and blah blah blah. I think we get along. I've had him on shows here, and we've done stuff with each other. I mean, I think we get along, but they're so kind of interesting, and like he's so kind of quiet that it's almost like, I think, I'm very like, jokes about masturbation and things like that. Like he's very just
what
like.
What do you mean jokes? Just to be clear.
Well,
you move on.
There's a reason why I can't come back to Washington, D.C. Let's just say that.
Sorry, Washington.
Sorry you're missing out on
a
giant wang.
But that's what I meant.
Right. And but like I went and saw them, and I'm the only guy in this shotgun long hall where like they're just creeping people out. It's at Pete's Cavern, Pete's Cafe. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm just like on the edge of my seat, just like, look at how they're creeping everyone out. I love this. I'm so excited by how creepy and wonderful they are. And everyone else is just like, either creeped out or like weirdly reverential. And I'm just like, I'm reverential, yeah. But like, this is exciting. They're on the front lines of weird. That's important. Yes. Whether you like the music or not, that's important. And
yes,
I like
they're
their
pushing
music,
boundaries, and good for them for doing it, because that is 10 times more courageous than most.
Fuck, they don't even like, or not, they're not even like, I mean, they share a lot of stuff, and they do YouTube, and they make videos, and all kinds of really cool shit, but like, they are avant fucking garde. They're not trying to be cool with it, and you
no,
I
they don't have
that.
space for that. It sounds like they drop their ego out, and they just do whatever they're channeling. Yeah, I am all about checking them out.
It's just wonderful.
That's fantastic.
Cookie tongue.
Thanks for keeping that from me this whole time.
Yes, you're welcome. Look up The Color Red. So that's the song. Color Red. That's one of my favorite songs. Anyway, but yeah, there's so much music that's been here that isn't here. There's so much art that has been here that I feel like isn't here. Is there still? I mean, you still gig. I saw you on Sunday or Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, I was performing at Hotel Utah with Jimmy Diaz, who is the founder and lead singer of The Love Dimension. Look them up too. They're fucking phenomenal. They just celebrated their 10-year band anniversary, if you will.
And you perform how often?
I perform. So I'm kind of I'm not in any bands currently. Okay. There was a time where I was in during that ULUV time, and for a couple of years after that, I was in anywhere from 2 to 3 bands at a time, and performing with 10 or 12 solo artists. Right. So whenever anyone says, "Hey Dave, do you want to jump up on stage with me? Do you want to do a show? Do you want to?"
Right, you're more of an assassin at this point.
I just roll in. I just take things out, and nobody is the wiser.
Is it all cajon?
I prefer the cajon. That is my centerpiece now.
What is a cajon?
A cajon is an acoustic box drum. You can kind of see the end table right here.
Oh, look at that.
It's an exquisite thing. As soon as I met this thing, like the idea of playing drum kits from my past, I was like, I will never. I was considering getting back into the drum kit because of the music scene. Right. I met this thing, and I fell in love with it.
It's easy to mic. It's easy to transport. It's
it's
fun sounds. It's good.
Yeah, it's got a nice range of sounds. It's it's perfect for more intimate settings, acoustic stuff, but you can mic it up really nice, and it gets nice and loud and brings that beat. It's sweet.
Right.
Plus, I do additional percussion stuff as well. Skin drums and doumbek and djembe and chimes and bells and whistles and whatnot.
This is not a doumbek. Makes me sound like, or makes that. What's that? What is that? That's like
that sounds like a plumbing issue. That's what that.
No,
would
it's like. There's an instrument that literally only.
I don't know, but I love the hand gesture you're doing.
You know what? God damn it, I'm too
cool. Did you see
for
the
this
face
shit.
when he was
I'm too
doing that?
cool
He was
for
like
this
this little
podcast.
kid.
You know what? I'm going to farm this fucking podcast out. I'm going to make a new one. And I'm going to fucking completely forget about it.
We're going to record about 18 hours of stuff. It's going to turn out to be like 10 minutes. Yeah.
Sansa Stark. God damn.
Oh, you know what
Fuck
it is?
Me, dude. It's Sansa. What a beautiful. Ooh, her outside of Game of Thrones. Please go look up Sophie T. B.
We're just gonna give him a minute to get through this. Just breathe, everybody. Breathe.
Shit.
Slow, deep breath in.
I love a skinny white girl all goddamn day. And that bitch with a fucking neck,
deep
just
breath
my
out.
hand would fit perfectly around her neck. Sorry, what? How you love people?
Wow.
Now
I can't apologize enough.
No.
So I'm not going to start.
So you play things now. What got you into that initially?
The
percussion,
Playthings,
music, yeah.
Oh, music still.
Yes, music things.
What got me into music?
Yes.
To be perfectly honest, it's probably my upbringing. Both my parents are musicians.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Mine too.
I know, and they're.
Yeah,
bad.
You've heard my dad's.
They're bad.
Yeah,
your dad's badass.
Yeah, he's a badass.
Yeah, he kicks ass. Yeah, my mother was a singer, but also directed her own chorus.
Beautiful.
She had her own choral group. My father also sings. He still sings, But he plays a myriad of instruments, from banjos to flutes to penny whistles to guitars to all manner of stuff. Piano. So every Sunday night when I was growing up, we had about 30 to 40 people pile into our house that I had to set up chairs for and fix food and snacks and whatnot for.
Right.
And then they would just scream at the top of their lungs. And I was very young at the time and extraordinarily bored. Mm-hmm. So I would drag the big pillow underneath the piano that was being played in the room with 30 to 40 people, lay in the pillow underneath the piano and fall asleep. That was my thing.
Awesome.
And then during the week, I would hear my mom listening to the recordings of their practice over and over and over again, trying to find those little micromanagey things where she could make things better. And her chorus was, they were on point. And when they did shows, when they did Christmas stuff, like at Union Square, they were just, it was immaculate. Like it was, yeah. So timing and beat and tempos and all that stuff, I just kept hearing all this stuff in my head, and I'm sure it just became part of my
Where
nature.
Did you grow up?
San Francisco, born and raised.
Okay. What area?
Mission.
Okay.
Yeah, grew up in the Mission.
When it was the Mission, I guess, right?
Mission back when it was still the Mission. There were definitely aspects that were very rough.
Was 16th and Mission always 16th and Mission? Because it's still fucking 16th and Mission.
Yeah.
Was it worse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
It's always been kind of the hub of
it. Yeah, the Mission was not a place that 20 or 30 somethings would go and party and hang out at. That was not.
It wasn't Valencia. So okay, so what?
Sorry, Valencia.
No, fuck you. I don't give a shit. Fuck it. Amnesia is kind of the Amnesia and Elbow are kind of the only cool spots in there.
Right. Well, and now that one's changed. Like the Elbow Room was.
Is it official? Because they've been fucking threatening to close that shit for like 50 years.
They got bounced and whatnot, but now it's going to be renewed. It's still going to be a music venue, and I think it's going to be called the Valencia Room.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Okay.
Wow.
Well, there you go.
A little judgmental.
Yeah, I know.
We need to hold on to as many fucking goddamn music venues as possible.
I'm
not going to swear often, but our
music
venues being lost in the city is a tragedy beyond all epic proportions. It's absolutely ridiculous.
But it also, I feel like, I think you and I have talked about this before too, but I feel like this is a normal, the waves, you know what I mean, of time, of history.
This is one of those.
This is one of those lulls.
This is one of those.
This is one of those fucking ebbs.
It is. This one, and I, born and raised, I have traveled the world quite a bit. I've traveled this country extensively, and I've always been on the hunt for a city of equivalent value or even better, somewhere I might want to move. I always find myself coming back here. Right. So I've seen a lot of those ebbs and flows.
Right.
This one is taking longer than I've ever seen. Historians that I've even spoken to said that this is a good one.
But monetarily, it's not in an ebb. Monetarily, it's been more expensive than New York for 2 or 3 years now, I think.
Yeah. Oh, at least.
And so it's literally the most expensive place in fucking in America.
Yeah.
And yet I consistently over the last 3 or 4 years have been realizing there's not really going to be much left in San Francisco except places to live, because it's just condos, right? So it's just they're knocking shit down, making condos.
There's more and more and more. Yeah.
I'm not opposed to capitalism when it's used correctly, but I do think it is sad when the venue has to crush the musician because they are getting crushed from above it, from high rent prices and high, and then regulations and bullshit. I mean, you and I were just talking about the regulation bullshit of DMV, a second ago.
Yeah.
I literally went in there. I'll just tell you y'all quickly the story. I went in there today. And I was like, I need to renew my registration. They were like, oh, well, good for you. You don't even have to stand in line, because I sneakily went up ahead and said, fuck you to the line. And I said, I'm just going to, here, can I just give you my money? And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, use the kiosk. So I went to the kiosk, put my card in, did the thing. It said, no problem, we got you. Oh, actually, there was a printing error. We still took your money, but there was a printing error. The only button available on the kiosk was exit. It wasn't like, here's what you need to do next. It was just exit. There was a printing error. So I'm like, okay. Mm-hmm. So I went and grabbed one of the ladies, and when she said stop grabbing me, then I asked her, what do I do? And so it was like another half hour of me just sitting there realizing, like, even the fucking kiosk, because the government doesn't want to pay these fucking people. So that, again, pressure.
Yes. Yeah. The trickle down effect is
dead sheep roll down stream.
Impressive.
And so I was realizing this isn't, it can't be easy for the venues. And a lot of musicians over the years have complained on Facebook and elsewhere about how crazy it is. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of fucking, when I started sending out emails for August 17th for the album release party that I'm doing,
very excited about that, by the way.
Thank you very much. It's going to be fucking big.
I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you've been working so very hard in there. You really have. Yeah.
I need all of you out, or I'll murder you. I swear to God.
True story. So,
and
show up.
I'm going to do a rain dance over your grave too. I'm going to like diarrhea. I'm going to eat like 3 days worth of prunes, just to like.
I'm offended, but I also want to offer my services as a percussionist and maybe drum for that. I'm like, I don't think I've done a rain ceremony shit on grave.
Oh yeah,
show.
I forgot.
I haven't done one of those yet.
Ceremonies and things like. We need to get into that too. But anyway, when I was reaching out to these venues, I'm realizing, oh yeah, this is the territory where we're going to take 45% of this and that and. Whatever, and I'm just like, okay, all right then, screw it. This is where, if you want to play in the big games, you got to play in the big games. This isn't Brainwash motherfucking cafe. Where you get paid, two drinks and a fucking sandwich.
I know, 2 drinks though. Brainwash Cafe is that?
It's gone.
That's no longer there now. Oh, no. I know. I just heard about that not too long ago.
No, I closed it like a year and a half ago, I think. That was a place where. That's where I got my start, I think, where you could just email a venue and go, hey, I want to play here. And they're like, okay, you have
Yeah, they were really good about letting people just roll
July
in.
7th from 7 to 8 p.m., go for it. And it's like, okay, there's this tiny little stage, 5 foot by 5 foot.
It's not really it's more like a box.
And you get up there, there's no audio, whatever. Well, I mean, there is an audio stand, but it's like broken, and the speaker's broken. And there's
it's
there's
the
like
jankiest
3
of jankies.
chords, and you have to like...
Oh, you had to
work,
rattle the cord sometimes to get it to work. I remember, yeah.
And
it's
and
character.
You play,
That's what that is.
to your girlfriend and your brother and one friend, who like are polite to you for an hour, and then you leave. You know what I mean? But at least you have a place to play.
Well, you got really 3 people to come out. That's actually pretty good.
There's not really a spot like Brainwash anymore. And Brainwash was the type of place where it was a restaurant thing, but also they did fucking laundry in the back.
Yeah.
They had comedy shows. They did have
comedy
shows.
Yes.
They had all that stuff.
Yeah. So anyone that was at the bottom rung that needed a place to just practice what it was to be in front of people and do your thing and express yourself in that way, that was a great place. And the city needs more of those little hole-in-the-wall places. More, please. More? I don't know who to even talk to.
But the problem is that I don't blame the venues in a way because, I mean, the pressure on them is all about rent and how expensive drinks are and how expensive all these you can't blame them too much.
No, I'm not no.
I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying like
no. Are you threatening me?
Yes.
Is that what that was? I'm not mad at the music venues per se in that regard. Right. I do know that music venues have been gouging musicians and taking advantage of them. Many of those venues have, not all of them, but many have over the years before any of this crazy lull in the city happened.
Pay to play.
And now we're losing music venues. So my concern is, are music venues going to stand up for the right of musicians to perform and keep their business up and running? But are they going to have to gouge someone to be able to keep paying higher and higher rents?
Well, the only thing that's going to save
or to say no to millions of dollars when these overseas companies say, hey, we want to buy this spot so we can build more condos.
The only way that's going to save it, and this is one of my favorite things. One of the only things that I feel like would be really cool is if I could get famous and rich enough to support myself.
All right, step one.
A couple houses and blah, blah, blah. But.
Sure.
But.
Yep.
I also would it would be really cool to finance things where I don't need a return on it. or finance things where I'm fine with breaking even. Meaning, here, Colin Quinn, take a couple mil, do whatever you want with it. Oh, show, movie, whatever. Sounds good. Go for it. Yeah. Oh, I only got $1 million back or whatever. Fine, because I've got so much other revenue. Or, okay, music venue, you're afraid of not making your rent. Here. Now you keep the fucking ticket prices the way I want you to.
Right.
You keep promoting. Here's here's a stipend, whatever the fuck. But like, I'm the owner. I'm still going to pay you well.
Yep.
I'm still going to pay the booker well. I'm still going to make sure there's actually good audio, and I don't need a strong investment. But that's not going to fucking happen. But it would be nice.
I have genuinely fantasized about that 1,000,000 times over.
Wouldn't it be great?
I would love to have a bar with live music that supports musicians and live music.
You know what would be great too? To do a little cat club.
Are we doing tests now? I didn't know there was a test involved.
To do a little cat club place. Man, my legs look really offensive. With all this hair, and then with just white socks, just peeking.
You could have
more. People listening on
hair.
iTunes and Spotify are really missing out. Look at that.
You should really catch the video. These socks are really the cat's meow. I tried to find the worst thing to say, and
you did wonderful. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
But there's a lot to what the fuck was I saying? Oh, I also thought it would be fun to have just a funk club. Like Cat Club does that sometimes. I don't know. I haven't been in a long fucking time because I don't want to shift through the hell of the parking and then get in there and it's Goth Night. No offense, Gothers. No. Okay, listen. Goth Night is fun and everything, but here's my problem with Goth Night. They make believe it's not high school, just like fucking everywhere else. Everywhere else where there's humans, where everyone's trying to get laid, and it's always high school. The problem with Goth Night is that you're also not. I like dancing and the shift arms from side to side like you don't care.
Right.
That's weird to me. The like let my arms drop like okay, the slightly sophisticated monster bash, you know what I mean? Like I want to actually like dance, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, there's some goth girls are fucking cute sometimes, but it's just like, but I also don't feel at home in the goddamn Kesha Club either, you know what I mean? The LMFAO days and shit. Like I want like funk. Like a funk club. There's this place in Portland.
Do you need more funk?
I need more motherfucking funk.
You're being cryptic about this, but that's what I'm feeling.
There was a place
I'm very good at that.
Portland called the Goodfoot. It's probably not around anymore, but the Goodfoot was badass. It was fucking funk, and it was DJ funk. It wasn't like live band. It was like funk. They would play James Brown and then throw in OPP from time to time, and it was everybody likes OPP. Everybody likes OPP. Don't try to recreate the fucking wheel with this mumble rap and shit. OPP. 90s hip hop and funk.
You really can't feel bad with funk music playing.
Right. Well, you can.
No.
James Brown did.
Well, I don't think not when he was singing and dancing.
Al Green. Yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe not. No, you know what? You're right. James Brown was able to. Once he was on, he was fucking on.
Yeah.
He might have been hitting girls and fucking shooting at police when he wasn't on stage. But when he was on stage, woo, that motherfucker. He brought it. He was the shit. Patrice used to tell the story about how back in I think it was the 60s, it was like going for like some race riot stuff between the black kids and the cops. And he was performing. He was like, hey. He literally like, while on stage, like stopped a riot, like with his fucking funk. That motherfucker had presence. This
world needs more of those types of people stepping up in those moments.
Do you feel that way when you're on stage? Are you able to just, this is perfect. This is where I want to be. Maybe not all the time, but
when I'm on stage, I don't have the option of thinking of anything else other than being in the moment.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I am a ridiculous bundle of nerves prior to a show because I want to be perfect. Great. Right. Good start, because that's not going to happen. No. And I want to make sure that I, bring it as solidly and powerfully as possible, so the other musicians don't have to worry about where I am, and they can springboard off of what I bring and know that they're safe to come back to that same space. So the whole ego thing for me, it drops. Once I hit that stage, that's my moment.
What is your fear before it?
Pretty much everything else.
Yeah, but are you afraid you're not going to be able to? Are you afraid you're going to look bad to the audience or to the musicians or to
probably musicians first and foremost, honestly, because they've probably invited me to perform with them, so they're expecting a certain level of quality or professionalism or whatever. So I want to make sure that I'm bring whatever I can, the best that I can in any moment for them. So, because once you hear a beat skip, a skip beat that isn't meant to be a skip beat, or something else, somebody trips up a little something, it's, are we ending the song early? What just happened? You know what I mean? Like, we don't really have that space to have to worry about that. I mean, it happens. Mm-hmm. It happens all the time. But I do get on my case about needing to be as perfect as possible before the show. But once I hit that stage, I genuinely, honestly just let all of that go.
You are really, and we've talked about this before, but not being recorded. So there you go. But you have a fucking really giving spirit. Where do you feel that comes from? Do you feel like that's nurtured? Do you feel like that's your karma? Like, what is it for you? Is it just automatic? I mean, I'm not saying you don't get selfish like all of us do, but you seem like your fear of, as an example, your fear of not showing up to the other musicians, your joy that you get from being in the pocket for them seems more giving than, as an example, my frontman head, which is just like, everybody look at me, which I'm good at. Don't get me wrong. I have the soul for it.
No, he's really good at the look at me thing.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
How cute.
It's part of your charm.
But it's also, you know what I mean? Like, it's a different headset. Have you been that way before music? Have you been that way?
I'm not entirely sure how to answer that.
I'm sure you see it in other aspects of your life, right?
Yes, I do. That is genuinely part of what I do professionally too, as well as personally. Sure. So it probably comes from a personal side of things. I have done a great deal of personal growth work, self-inquiry and self-examination, and that's kind of my jam. I feel like I'm here in this lifetime to learn as much as I possibly can. I think wisdom should be shared. I think everyone deserves as much patience and kindness as possible, and I didn't have that for myself for a very long time. Right. I've been asking questions since I was probably 5 or 6 years old, big questions that no family member, parent, or adult could answer, and that just compiled the questions. Like, if these people that are running the show, these adults, I'm a child, can't answer questions that I'm coming up with about life, the universe, why we're here, what are we doing, it made me really question reality, and I've been questioning it ever since, and I've found a lot of answers, but I think I've probably found more ways to refine my questions over time.
And maybe in that space, it also gave you a strong desire to spread that to others, or to hold that space, as you like to say, for others, for those who are inquisitive, who are curious, and also to those who feel uneasy, to make them, or give them, not make them feel easy, but give them a space to do that for themselves.
To know that there can be spaces that can be safe for them to think and feel in ways that are generally not held in a compassionate way.
But what's interesting to me is that's not always the reaction that people get when they don't feel safe as a kid, or when they don't feel like when they do have a bunch of people around them who, not that your parents did something necessarily wrong or whatever, I'm sure we could talk about it more, but like, when you do feel, there are other options. You know what I mean? There are other options that people like me, as an example, when I grew up and I had 3 brothers, and I, had, and I felt like I was too fat and not cool enough for the girls at school and stuff like that. I went the opposite direction into, okay, I'm gonna be this performer where like everybody fucking, what I mean? And I'm not saying that that's bad, but it's just 2 different personality types reacting to the same issue. And it interests me that your personality type didn't go that direction.
It didn't go in your direction necessarily. I certainly did do the ego thing for a little while later on in life. That's for sure. But when I was younger and started to ask questions, I didn't immediately just start grounding and centering myself and checking in with my karma. I was actually I was scared. I was deathly scared, like down to the bone, terrified, because if my parents couldn't answer these questions, if adults didn't seem to really actually be in charge of things or even in control of the things or themselves, then I didn't necessarily feel safe. That confusion, that fear turned inward, and that became anger. It became sadness and depression. The anger thing. I mean, I didn't pick a lot of fights, but I got into a lot of fights because I think I was just energetically, I was like really, I was a little kid, but I was a little scrapper, and I probably drew a lot of that attention to me, and I didn't turn down from that. It didn't make me feel better. God knows I tried repeatedly.
That was your ego thing?
Yeah, I mean, it was anger, and then it was depression. Like, I just turned inward because I didn't feel like there was anything to reach out to. So I turned inward.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of it.
In your experience with, when did you start looking at? So first things first, let's establish what you do for your main love, your main profession.
Sure. I don a cape and fight crime.
Oh.
No.
At the sex club?
That's
weird.
Yeah,
I saw you there, and I was like, why do you have a mask on?
Yeah, that seemed redundant to even say.
Utility belt just had condoms in it.
Not just condoms.
Female condoms. All right. Have you ever used a female condom? I've never in my I remember taking it out once, maybe just to see what it was at Planned Parenthood or something, or at like the fucking, whatever. But like, I've never fucking used one, or a dental dam. The fuck? Anyway, sorry. But I digress.
Wow.
You can't. Listen. You know what fucking podcast you're on. I can go from. What healing do you do?
I want to bring
female condoms.
I wanted to bring to this podcast a little semblance of calm and grace.
This is a wonderful space. It's a wonderful.
It is.
I did walk in.
Only,
and all my,
only because
all my issues fell away.
I like to see you slightly more unhinged than normal. It brings me great fucking joy.
I just love that. This is what's so weird about this experience of doing this podcast is that people from your world listen to my fucking nuts ass world, and even though our worlds connect, it's like, who is this weird motherfucker?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Or like people from my world who are interested in, like, even a lot of the people who listen to this who know that I'm slightly conservative on some things and pretty goddamn liberal on a number of other things.
Yeah, wow.
Prostitutes, hi. But also, things like that. We'll listen to like you talking about spirits and stuff and be like, oh, this is weird. Who's this motherfucker? So it's like, I like connecting motherfuckers.
I know.
Patreon.com/conservatish, you fucks. Anyway.
You're adorable. That was hilarious. That was a cute little rant.
I'm amazing. So now, in your experience, what do you do?
I am a certified hypnotherapist.
Nice.
And I specialize in helping to guide people towards their genuine, authentic self within them by helping them to relearn the tools of self-empowerment within themselves, and then help them to learn how to relearn those tools for the rest of their life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it
I help
always
people
go back
bring themselves back to themselves.
Does it always go back to trauma, or not always?
Trauma's a great teacher.
Right.
Yeah.
So often it goes back to, what's the percentage of people who come in who want help and you can help them? What's the percentage of people who are who know what the trauma is versus don't?
That's an interesting question. A lot of people have done, say, a lot of therapy before, and so they are adamant that they know what the trauma piece is that they need to work on.
And that sounds like you're saying they think they know.
And oftentimes oftentimes that is just a marker for something that leads to something much deeper. Sometimes it's not that at all. It is actually, in fact, something else. But their inner guidance was saying, you've really got this trauma piece you really need to work on. It's really bugging you, so go get a therapist. They come in and see a therapist of integrity, and they realize there's so much more there, things that they may not have wanted to look at, but that one little piece of trauma was enough to get them to the therapist. And then in that session or in several sessions, they might realize, wow, there was so much more, and if I had known, I wouldn't have come in.
Wow.
Our inner guidance, our higher self, our guardian angels, our all of these things, whatever you want to call them, doesn't matter. That gut instinct is always looking out for us and trying to find ways to bring us back to a more authentic version.
Even if it needs to be trickery.
Yeah, I don't want. Yeah, I wouldn't say trickery and manipulation, but it's kind of like a genie. If you're asking for a wish from a genie, but the genie's trying to screw you, you have to just be careful about how you're mindfully wording something, so that it still does guide someone to something good. You just need to be careful about how you're formulating the questions.
Right.
Yeah.
You're saying me? Am I doing something wrong?
Probably.
So that's interesting. When did you first start getting into this? Okay, I know why this is. How?
No, it's okay. No, it's a good question.
Because I know that it's way more than I was in college and I decided to take it.
It is a little bit.
I burned the wrong piece of incense once.
I'm not.
No, I know that it's deeper than that, and this is the goddamn fucking place to do it. I have the best podcast in the world. So
it is pretty good so far.
When you were growing up,
yeah.
When did you first start feeling spirits?
That was a really sound question. That was good. I'm not sure what age it was. I was very, very young. I know that so my thing was I used to just draw and color. Draw and color. I would sit on the floor and draw and color for hours. I was a very quiet child, very everything
all
was
loud and playing music.
Everybody's doing whatever else. I did my quiet thing, and I was drawing dinosaurs and dragons and more dinosaurs. That was my thing.
Sure.
And I always felt these shifting, moving energies around me, and sometimes they were warm, sometimes they were cold, but they were always comforting. They were never weird or uncomfortable or anything like that. And that had gone on, at that point for my entire life, which is, I was only 4, 5, 6 years old or whatever. And it had been going on for a long time, and I never talked about it because, or I never asked about it because I figured everyone else must be experiencing the same thing, which is why no one else is talking about it. And if no one else is talking about it and it's not an issue, then it must be normal.
Thing at first, it was just
It was normal for me to have energies flitting around and energies taking form of, animals or whatever. And that could have been my imagination. I was sitting and drawing silently to myself.
Sure.
Okay. There was one afternoon I recall very, very clearly that my grandmother came to visit and said, I need you to go and give your mom a message for me. And I just looked at her and said, Grandma, I'm coloring dinosaurs,
like
dragons,
any kid
and
would
stuff.
say.
Come on. She's in the other room. Just go and talk to her. What are you doing?
Right.
But
careful of the cord, by the way, when you.
I really like to play with it
sometimes. Sorry. So she wanted to give your mom a message.
She wanted me to pass the message along to Mom. And I was a little hesitant at first because I wanted to keep drawing. But I said, okay, fine. So she gave me the message, and I went into the kitchen where my mom was washing the dishes. And I said, Mom, Grandma has a message for you. And she's still washing dishes. And I was still standing there thinking, did I not say that loud enough? Because she's not even responding, which was kind of weird. I mean, she wouldn't respond normally. So I said it again. She didn't respond. And then I said it very loudly and kind of tugged on her shirt, I have a message to give you. Grandma wants me to tell you something because I want to just get back to my coloring. She was still facing the sink. She turned off the water and she just stood there silently and still in a way that I had never seen her do before. And her energy shifted in a way that I'd never felt. And again, there's the energy thing, normal, picking up on people's vibes, right? It was very strange. It was like these walls just came shooting up from the ground, and around her and between us, and it was cold and it was weird and it was metallic, and it was just, I didn't know what was happening. This was a completely new thing. And that's when she turned and slowly looked at me in a way that I had never seen before. And she said, don't tell anyone about this. Don't tell your father. Don't tell any family members. Don't tell anyone at church. And she said, and we're never going to speak of this again. And it was in that moment that my whole teeny tiny, wonderful dinosaur dragon laden reality shattered into a gazillion fucking pieces. And I've been asking questions ever since.
And you never were able to tell her?
To this day, I still have not conveyed the message. To be honest, it has only been, within the last, 5-6 years that my mom and I have, sort of reconciled our differences. We've always butted heads. When I started asking questions that she couldn't answer, she took it upon herself. I realize now, years later, that she took it upon herself that she must be a bad mom for not being able to help me understand things. However, her reaction to me was that I was a bad child for even asking.
Right.
I didn't understand that. She didn't understand what I was doing. It was very challenging, and we did not get along very well for quite some time.
I'm sure it happens now, but do you feel like a piece of that was the times? Because with the spread of information now, much more as just as an example with gayness or, a bunch of other things that are used to be way taboo and way in the closet and way punishable and way whatever, that are much more open now. Do you feel like even though there are a lot of religious people in the world and there's that maybe that the reaction to something like that would be different now? Even if someone might have been afraid. Because it sounded like she was just maybe afraid. Afraid she was a bad mom.
Oh, terrified.
Afraid that,
she was terrified.
What if this is a demon? Because it sounds like you guys were in the church, right? So.
Oh, she was Italian Catholic from Chicago.
Woo. Right.
Yeah, this did not go over well. No. No.
Beat you with a pierogi or something.
Did not go well.
Okay.
I think some people are more open-minded in this day and age. I think the concept of spirituality, different from religion, has helped people to expand their awareness and their consciousness and their willingness to be a little bit more open-minded about things. Sure, but an Italian Catholic from Chicago, or any other culturally dynamic religion, attachment circumstance would still have some challenges. Immediately wrapping around their brain around their child saying, grandma who passed away just visited me and said she has a message for you.
What was
Ta-da.
I'm sure your reaction was detrimental, or your experience was, but did the feeling of energies change? Did you ever try to say, you know what, shut the fuck up, everybody, enough, I don't even want to deal with you motherfuckers anymore. I don't want to feel this. I don't want to know what your goddamn energy shift is. Fuck off. Like, have you ever had that reaction too?
Not when I was young. Just because the energies I had always felt were always
warm.
They were friendly. Do you know what I mean? There was nothing malicious in those energies. I didn't hold anything against them. It wasn't until later in life that I decided to pursue these concepts a little bit more and figure out what the hell,
more made defined.
Because clearly it was part of my life. I had kind of shut down my ability to kind of hear and see those things a little bit.
And definitely your ability to share it maybe with others.
I wasn't sharing any of that. Oh God, no, I wasn't talking about it for. I didn't talk about any of this for years. I didn't touch upon it. It wasn't until later on in like my young adult life when I realized that there was a difference between spirituality and religion. I started studying religions to see which religion would be good for me, because I started looking around. People who don't have religion are pretty sad. People who have religion seem kind of content, and I was very angry and depressed, and I needed something. Right. So I started studying world religions to see if there was one that was suited for me. Right. I realized that at the core of every religion, I truly, genuinely feel that they have a solid truth to them. Every single one of them agrees with each other. But when you allow the human agenda to come in, the personal agendas and cultural dynamics, even putting a spin on thing,
right?
It changes and dilutes the truth.
Right.
Spirituality has a slightly different turn or a bent on that. Spirituality suggests that instead of worshiping a god or a goddess or whatever, that god and or goddess is already within you,
right? And
it's just relearning itself in this interesting space that we've all agreed upon is happening.
Right. It's connection above separation. It's truth above rigidness. You know what I mean? It's flexibility, if anything.
Yeah,
you know
it's
what
a
I mean?
letting go of structures. In fact, learning what structures help you to understand who you are, and then learning how to let go of those structures.
Right.
Which is actually very Buddhist.
The older I get, the less, even from people who are Christian or whatever, the more the fact that there is no right and wrong. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Is huge.
That's true.
And stretches across no matter what the religion is or non-religion is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. I believe there's wise and unwise. Yeah. I believe there's kind and unkind.
Right.
But I think right and wrong is actually more of a human concept to try to make sense of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, do you feel like you are still trying to make sense of things, or do you feel like you kind of, I mean, obviously you're continuously growing, you're continuously introspective.
That is my fucking jam. I do like it. Yeah.
But under the label of trying to figure it out,
sure,
define it, are you still trying to define it?
It's funny. I think in letting go of the need to know, I am enjoying the mystery just as much as the potential knowing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a hard muscle to flex.
It is. There was a time, you did ask that question, if there was a time that I had to shut things down. There was a point in time where I had been doing so much energy work and reading and taking classes and working with mentors and gurus and senseis and all this different stuff. And there's a lot of charlatans out there, and there's a lot of really amazing people out there. And I ran the whole gamut of everything. I was voracious in learning. But at one point, I had opened up so much without learning how to protect my energies that every single night I could see spirits walking around. I could see what they look like when they died because they hadn't fully transitioned from this ordinary reality to a more non-ordinary reality. So I had ghostly dead people sitting next to me on the couch when I was trying to watch TV at night. I would open up my eyes when I was laying in bed, and I would be surrounded by these things just hovering over me, wanting to talk. I could see their mouths moving, but I had shut off the vocals, but I hadn't shut off the visuals. And so they were all trying to talk to me, and some were pushing to the front, and some were pushing others away, and I could see how they died, and it was there was at a point I was just like, I can't do this anymore. This is not what I want. I didn't want to go this far. And so I had to reel back, and I actually took a bit of a break from the whole thing and kind of just literally shut down.
Was there maliciousness in any of them?
Mostly no. In those circumstances, those were landlocked spirits that had passed, had ascended this mortal coil, if you will.
Right.
But they still were holding on to something so deeply, so tremendously on an emotional level that they were not able to shift into the light or shift into their next phase of karmic learning or whatever. And so they were kind of trapped here, and they needed someone to open up a portal to the light. They needed someone to help them to finish whatever it was they didn't finish in life. They needed some message to be brought to someone else. They needed to...
Is that even possible?
Redefine your question. There we are.
Okay, but listen, as an example,
Yep.
would something like, hey, can you tell my daughter, your mom, this message? That might be quote unquote possible in that. But opening up a realm, like, is that possible?
Oh, I do it all the time.
Okay. God damn it.
Yeah. I do that in healing sessions all the time.
My God damn it, this motherfucker.
Yeah,
Okay.
when there are negative energetic interferences that are in someone's energy, wherever that may be, and they're plugged into a negative emotional content that the individual has, like childhood trauma.
Sure.
That's a big one. It's a big trigger. Negative energies that are on the same low frequency as that childhood trauma plug into you, just like a plug and a wall outlet. They can plug right in, and that churns up the trauma.
Right.
And a lot of times that energy kind of feeds off that trauma. It's kind of parasitic. It can be parasitic. Sometimes it doesn't even realize what it's doing because it has no mind. Right. Some are a little bit more aware of what they're doing, but that's a lot more rare. But those energies can really confuse things. Another type of energetic interference is old patterns or ways of thinking, ways that our parents made us think or feel about something that never felt right to us or hurt our feelings. That can also be energetic interference. And when I bring an individual into an altered state of consciousness where they are completely and totally aware of where they are and what they're doing, and I'm speaking to them and they're answering questions, they can also, and they're in a different state at the same time, and I'm holding that space for them, they can actually hear, see, and feel the energetic interference. We bring them into that space where that energetic interference has plugged in, and especially that childhood trauma. Before we can really heal the childhood trauma, we sometimes have to bounce energetic interference out of the way. It's like this mist or this fog and this goo.
Yeah, it almost, because in my head, Portal sounds like Stargate, but that does, it's like...
Right. I wish it was as Hollywoody as it, but it's not as grandiose. It's.
But see, here's my immediate reaction to a lot of this is, sure, it's terrifying, but in some ways, but not so terrifying in others. There's a couple reactions.
Good assessment.
One of the things that's terrifying about it is that I have tried to
what's terrifying about it?
Not being in control.
Not being in control.
Yep. What's terrifying about it is that's why sometimes that whole saying of like, well, self-fulfilling prophecy. I can't try to think my way out of my thinking. I have very powerful negative thinking. Very fucking powerful negative thinking. Mm-hmm. And when I try to think my way out of my thinking, I just turn around in circles and I think, am I thinking my way out of my thinking correctly? Why am I feeling the things I'm thinking about my thinking or feelings? You know what I mean? It just starts spinning around like a dog on linoleum, and I can't unthink my like this power in my fucking brain. I'm not saying I'm smart, but like very fucking analytical. You know what I mean? It may be a lot of activity, but it spins around in circles. I'm aware of that. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to be. It feels like, how do I ever really know? I have such an obsessive compulsive type of like, where like even when I've asked for signs, even when I fucking get them, I don't trust them anyway. Because I feel like, a little bit deeper, scratch a little bit more. Like, that's that obsessive, compulsive type of, I don't even trust the sign that I fucking, you understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, and so it almost feels like, okay, how do I even know? My immediate fear would be that, it's not like I'm petrified, but like, my thought would be like, even if I did that shit, it still wouldn't be closed. It still wouldn't be open. The negative energy still wouldn't be gotten rid of.
In that general circumstance, I think that in working with someone in integrity that can hold that kind of space for understanding and wisdom and release to occur, I think you might feel differently through the experience.
Maybe, yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm. But I just feel like, well, how do I know? Like, do I get a sign? Do I get a text? Does God text me and be like, yeah, nigga, it's out, you're good? Like, do I? Because I don't, you know what I mean? Like,
everyone has a different experience of.
I better get a fucking text
of the feeling and the knowing. That there generally is a knowing.
And don't
it's
get
like
me wrong,
a knowing.
I sometimes have a fucking knowing. Mm-hmm. After a good meditation or a good like when stuff happens, I'm like, here's the way I describe it. Mm-hmm. In some ways, it's almost like I have nothing to feel guilty about. No matter what direction I look. Things are all right. I'm taken care of. Everything's fine. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And no matter what my perception is, that's still a true thing. Mm-hmm. No matter what my perception of my current, I smoked too many cigarettes. Oh, I messed up this. I spent too much money. Blah, blah, blah. I'm still okay no matter what the fucking perception of that is. Mm. But when I'm not feeling that, even if I know, I don't. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
So how do you find yourself in those moments where you feel like everything is okay, regardless of what might be going on in the circumstance? Like, what do you do for yourself when you center like that, or when you ground? When you tap into that, because that's you closer to your own source energy.
Right. I have to, honestly, I feel like I have to connect with other motherfuckers who are crazy for that to happen. You know what I mean? Like, I have to go to these certain gatherings and be like, hey, are you feeling this too? Yeah, I'm feeling fine. Okay, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. You know what I mean? If I'm around other weirdos, I feel a little like that. When I have this secret that I'm not telling somebody, and then I just pull the Band-Aid off, tell the secret, it's just like, okay, all right, I'm not as bad, you know, or I'm not as stupid, or I'm not as this, or I'm not as whatever judgments and shit. When I'm telling secrets or when I'm connecting, it's connecting with other motherfuckers. The feeling that happens afterward, I'm noticing, is that I often, which is part of the reason why I'm a performer, subconsciously, I think, but just to be, because I want to share that to other people. I want to take a fucking movie of peace and, like, show other people. You know what I mean? Like, I want to constantly show other motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's my reaction after the fact, anyway.
I like that. I like that you're interacting with your experience, though. That you actually know that if you do rip that Band-Aid off really fast and share something with someone, and allow someone to listen, which is holding space, that you kind of let go of a little bit of whatever that is that was gnawing at you.
Yeah, and it's sometimes hard, because even when I do, then it's just like, oh, but I didn't share this one thing, you know, or like, oh, I did pick my nose once or twice, you know, like there's always like something that my naggy little fucking mind wants to hang on to, you know what I mean? And by the way, I know that this podcast is not fucking for everybody. I know that this episode is like, it's getting a little hippie, because even me, I'm like, as into this spirit shit as I am, it's not gets my cockles all adrift. You know what I mean? I just feel like,
now you got your cockles all over my couch.
You might get, many worse things have been on your couch.
Very true.
Now, do you want to take a little break?
Sure.
All right, let's take a little break. We're going to take a little break, and we're going to come back and...
I think Peter needs a hug.
I need to pee, and I need
to okay. I'm not going to hug you at that point.
You can hug me while I urinate.
Damn it all to hell.
I love this podcast. All right, we'll take a quick break. So sweet. All right. Welcome back, everybody.
Oh, hi.
By the way, lastly, unless you're listening to this
There's a screen again.
June 8th, on June 7th, there's going to be a show with Jefferson Bergee.
Oh, boy.
And you're coming.
Oh, I'm already there.
And it's going to be in Oakland at RBA Creative. Go get tickets now, because it's a very small space, and there's going to be food, and you can BYOB, and
good to know. It is going to be epic. You and Bergie, wow,
we are hilarious.
Oh my God, I'm going to have to.
People.
Yeah, you should just hand out diapers at the door, adult diapers. Do you have that kind of thing?
Sending them out to people like 2 days before.
Sure.
At the door, you need to present soiled diapers, but I want them like there needs to be a little cut. Do you remember diapers where you like there's almost like this blue gel in them? I want like a little cut in there just so that the poop and pee mixes with the blue gel, because it just makes the experience better.
Does that make you happy?
Happy, isn't it? Sexually aroused is probably a better description.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant.
Put them on my face and on my head, and just so it's just brown and blue gel all over my face. And in my teeth. And I'm gonna sing. Performance artist.
So this is not going to be a different show from any other then?
No.
Okay, good to know. Y'all should show up on Friday. It's going to be freaking phenomenal.
Yes, it is.
Diapers aside.
Diapers on top.
Bring diapers.
Diapers on top. I just wrote that. So I want to know more about this. So, have you ever felt, and can you describe malicious spirits and what that has felt like, or experiences that you have had around that?
I'm just going to say that they're rare, just to put people at ease a little bit. Most energetic interference really doesn't really have a concept of sentience necessarily, and it's really just more like energetic clutter. Like you just need to sweep your floors, and there's all this dust bunnies. We do the same thing with
guilt
energy.
And shame, as an example, or guilt and shame about this person. Like I've said, how I've almost felt like, oh, I need to take care of this thing, or I didn't share that one thing, or I didn't say that thing I was supposed to say.
Sure.
It's almost like a spirit, if you will.
Sure.
Sticks around because they still feel that guilt or that shame, and they're blocking, but not because they're trying to be dickheads, but because they're just not over it, whatever it is.
Right, because you're still feeling that way. So you're still attached to that feeling. So that energetic clutters. It hangs out. It hangs out. Yeah.
Okay. So it's rare.
Well, I don't know how far to go into this. I know you're doing a little fucking shitty happy dance. There are varying levels of energetic interference.
Okay.
There are from time to time energies that are a little bit more self-aware.
Okay.
And know that they are plugging in to an individual. Again, an old trauma is usually the quickest one.
But not necessarily connected to that person. Like it's not somebody who knew that person.
Oh, you mean connected as in they knew them in life or something?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it can't happen. It can.
Sure.
But that's not always the case. It's just energy interacting with energy.
Okay.
So low vibrational energies that are just flitting about in the air are looking to connect with something similar, something like-minded. And low frequencies can't connect to, happier people, joyful people in a good mood, people who are in the moment, people who are more connected to their center, they're grounded.
Right.
It's harder to connect with that, but everyone has it. Mm-hmm. Everyone has it. Everyone has energetic clutter. So I'm just going to say this. Everyone has energetic clutter all the time. We all have it. We all have traumas. We all have suffering. If we're suffering, there's some degree of energetic clutter that does not benefit us having it until we're willing to do the heavy work and get real raw with ourselves and be able to, in a safe space and with a genuine eye, be willing to go to those places of trauma and say, I see myself in that moment, in that time and space that's trapped. I see why I made those choices, or I see why I didn't make those choices. I understand better now because you've evolved from that point.
Right.
And you can bring yourself to that space and bring healing and compassion and understanding to why that experience happened. And there is a whole process. I'm not just step by step, this is what you do.
Right.
There's a lot involved, and there's a lot of energy work involved, and the space needs to be sacred, and it needs to be held by someone that is fully in integrity with this work.
Okay.
But you can go back to those places in time and space, and you can heal your past traumas. You can learn to understand it, understand why it happened, why you made the choices or actions you did or didn't do, why other people did or said what they did. There might have been physical trauma, emotional trauma, energetic trauma. It all ties together. You don't have to relive the experience completely because you are now a different person. You survived that because you're at this point now, later on in your life, going back to look at it. You're a different person. You're a stronger person because you survived that experience. You have the strength and you can find the courage to go back to those points and be willing to bring love and healing and compassion to those places.
Right.
And if you are ready to let go of the trauma, sometimes people get in there and they do all the work, but that last step is, are you willing to let go of this energy that no longer serves your highest good? If the individual says, I still feel like it's teaching me something. I still feel like I need to hold on to it. I won't feel safe without it. If we can't work past that boundary or obstacle, it's okay. It's okay. I will then say, we're going to come back to this. We're going to come back to this another time, but we're going to send love and light to that space, and we're going to do some energy work in that space. I'm simplifying it dramatically right now. Right. But if someone's not willing to let go of their trauma, then there will be another time down the road when they will be.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I have wanted, even around smoking recently, where I was like, I want to quit smoking, but I want to quit smoking a lot more than I actually want to quit smoking.
Sure. The smoking's not the issue.
I know, goddammit, I know it's not. But it's just like, fuck.
It is also that.
Yeah,
and you're allowed to feel that way.
Fuck.
It's okay. It's okay to feel however you need to feel.
Yeah. Yes. Now, you said something that interests me. Now,
sure.
Trying to understand, obviously this, I'm sure, is a lot more in depth than just an answer on a podcast, but trying to understand the intention or the actions of another person, do you often find that you have to fill in the blank, or is that a responsibility you don't want, or does it seem like the other person, the person actually doing the work, knows probably what, in a generalized way, what the intention of that person who created trauma in their lives was? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, if something happened traumatic to a kid and they're doing the work now, they don't know that person's passed away, that they've never had a conversation with that person. It was a fucking uncle that distant, blah, blah, blah. And they're trying to do some work around that and trying to understand where that person was coming from. Obviously, you don't have a written thing from that person saying, this is exactly what I was coming from.
Correct.
This is why I did this. But where does that intention come from? Does it come from someone already kind of knowing or understanding, or
okay, so
just uncovering it?
With any individual's trauma, if there was another individual or a group of individuals that were involved, that's just part of the experience. Mm-hmm. But it's the trauma that you focus on. It's the individual's trauma and the trauma of the individual that you focus on, and it's the individual that will eventually, when they're ready, come to terms with being willing to give themselves permission to let go of that trauma after understanding it, after bringing what the healing that they need to bring to that space, the understanding, the wisdom of who they are now, and understanding that past experience, looking back at it. They need to be the one to choose to not want to carry that trauma anymore. And that is what I focus on, is the self-empowerment of that experience.
So regardless of whether or not that person understands the intention that that inflictor had, I know I need to be careful here, but it's slightly less necessary to understand the intentions of the other individual, and to understand the trauma that the individual that is in the healing process is trying to let go of. Right.
They're the ones holding on to the trauma.
Right.
That person is probably not in their life anymore, still causing the trauma, but the trauma is still there. It's the trauma that is the focal point.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The self-empowerment of the individual who is willing to let go of that trauma and finally heal it once and for all.
When did you start getting into it? Obviously, you had felt these feelings. You had when you first started digging in, like you said, you went to all kinds of religious training and did all this stuff. Was the goal always to do what you're doing now? Or
no.
Did you stumble upon that?
Never had the goal.
Okay.
Never had the goal to become a practitioner. I just wanted to figure out who I am. Mm-hmm. What the hell am I all about? Why am I here? Why are we all here? What is this universe? Also, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I wanted to know more.
When did you start realizing, like, how was that process that you wanted to become a practitioner? Or do you feel like you didn't have a choice?
It was a circumstance that kind of fell in my lap, and I did not realize that is something that I would have even considered that I could do.
Okay.
Until I found this amazing school. After other schools, other workshops, thousands of books, teachers and whatnot, years and years and years and years and years of exploration and experience, and I came across this school. It's called the Sacred Stream. It's in Berkeley, California, and the founder of the school, Isa Gucciardi, is my mentor, and she is quite possibly the most grounded human being that I have ever known or ever had the honor of knowing and learning from. And
me?
What's that? I learned that from her. Okay. Yeah. I went to that school, and I was still just a jigsaw puzzle, and my pieces were all over the place. And I still couldn't turn the box over to look at the cover to see what the fucking picture was. I got to that school, and I took a couple of classes, and then I took more classes, and I took more classes, and that school helped me to figure out how to put all my puzzle pieces together without the need to see what the cover looked like. Yeah.
Very cool.
And when I decided to become a practitioner, I actually helped several other individuals become practitioners themselves through the school, because I was just in it. That was just my jam, and I was just understanding. I was understanding things at an exponential rate, which even with all my research and learning and whatnot, it was beyond what I thought I was even capable of. And in helping others and supporting their path and their process towards becoming practitioners, it seemed quite silly not to. So I decided to follow through the practitionership, and that the depth hypnosis modality will kick your ass up and down and sideways. It will literally break you down to your component parts and toss them up in the air, and you watch all these little pieces land, all these pieces that are you, and then it teaches you how to recognize which pieces work and support and nurture you and your growth, and which pieces don't work anymore, and how to let go of the attachment to those. Now, it's an extraordinary process, and I am so grateful for the school and the teachings of ISA. Amazing.
Now, we were out there, and we were on the break, and you were talking about possibly, charlatans and things like that. And I'm
many.
Interested,
holy moly!
Because I know a lot of people in my life who have hidden behind the letter of the law, if you will, hidden behind the learning, lots of learning, and never experiencing. You know what I mean? In fact, one of my favorite guests on the show, his name is Bruce. I only had him on once. He moved up to Spokane. But Bruce talked about being an atheist. I mean, he's an atheist, but he's doing a lot of spiritual.
God bless him.
He's a spiritual guy. No, he's a spiritual fucking guy.
Atheist. God bless him.
Yeah. But like he talked about being
so jealous,
being a Episcopalian. I think it was a priest. And growing up and being a fucking priest, and then eventually like doing all the learning and never experiencing, not feeling. Are there people in your field who hide behind the learning without doing the work?
There are a lot of people that love to use the term spiritual or spiritualist or enlightened and whatnot. I'm really over the terms. There are a lot of individuals that love the lifestyle and the look. And they've got all the tats and all the piercings and all the wardrobe and all the whatnot.
Berkeley, fuck you.
And
school was there, but
I'm
just saying.
And they're I'm gonna get hippie for a moment. I'm not a hippie, but I'm gonna get hippie for a moment. They are hiding in their upper chakras, where everything is light and candy and sweet and soft and whatnot. That's not where the real fucking work is. The real fucking work, it's dirty, it's gritty, it's raw. You are gonna cry, you're gonna scream, you're gonna want to claw your fucking face off. But in the end, you will be empowering yourself by overcoming these challenges, by choosing to try to overcome them.
Right.
And that's where the real work is.
You can't just burn some Nag Champa and fucking, buy a
oh no, you can totally do that. That'll heal everything. Yeah, that totally does it. But there are a lot of charlatans out there, and I that's why I keep saying a practitioner of integrity. You have to find the right individual that is truly grounded and just doesn't not that they sound smart or sound wise. Anyone can regurgitate any fucking thing they read from a goddamn book and sound smart or spiritual or whatever. Right. But if they are using the spiritual moniker as a guise, males have done it to lull women into a false sense of security where they feel like they're being supported and nurtured and whatnot, and then they are taken advantage of emotionally, physically, and all of that is energetic. And that makes me fucking sick. I have actually gone out of my way over the years when those things have happened to call out individuals in the community that are doing those things and making sure that everyone knows that that's happening. I will not stand for manipulation on that level. That is the most atrocious thing we have ever done as human beings, is learned to manipulate each other for a personal agenda, regardless of the consequences and what will happen to others because of it.
Right.
Fuck that. Fuck you. Fuck all that. No, won't do it.
And there are people who do it on a much lighter scale. We were talking about some of that, where they're not necessarily practitioners or healers, but they hide behind. And that's even though you and I have hung out in a lot of those areas where, like, you know, we went to a show a few weeks ago at that house, and it was really cool. But I can't help but look around at some of the unwashed and start thinking to myself, like, you're not unwashed because you just care so much about the environment. Like, your mason jar. You know what I mean? Have you noticed that everyone in the East Bay drinks out of a fucking mason jar? You can't be a woman between the ages of 18 and 27 and not drink out of a fucking mason jar.
Oh, no, immediately ostracized.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But, like, all your fucking mason jars aren't doing shit.
And
like,
your chia seeds and your whatnots.
Right. And there's so many people who are like, you know, we were talking about it. I don't know if you're willing to joke around about this on the air.
Oh, please, go right ahead.
Okay. God damn it. And this comes from a place of experience, okay?
Here we go.
Sometimes non-monogamy is truthful. Sometimes polyamory is a good idea for truthfully. Do your thing. But I have used non-monogamy as a guise to keep women at a distance emotionally. I have used the desire to fuck other people, which I certainly do have, as a means of clubbing someone to death by keeping them at a distance and saying, here, motherfucker, I don't actually need you. I don't need to let you in all that much because I'm afraid you're going to not like me. I'm afraid you're going to find out who I am and you're going to reject me. So you know what? I want to fuck other people. I'm going to fuck these other people, and I'm going to put a big stamp of non-monogamy. I'm polyamorous, so you can't. I am now untouchable. I am not, because this is just what I want. No, motherfucker. It's not, it's just what you want. Good morality. No, you're just being a cunt. You're just being a fucking, a cheating cunt. You know what I mean? Like, and I hate that same thing with the mason jars, where it's just like, there's an unearned moral superiority. There's an unearned superiority, and I don't fucking. It just makes me yak, and I can't help but just talk shit about it.
Collective wow. Integrity. That's the difference.
What's your definition of integrity?
My definition of integrity is being patient with yourself, being kind to others, not being an asshat. I think it's doing what's wise, doing what's kind, what's compassionate, whether anyone's looking or not.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I think it's having sensibilities, moderation in most everything. I'm sorry, I know. Do you need a bucket or something?
No, like 7 fig Newtons on the It's kind of moderation, right?
Yes,
there's fruit in them.
Well, there's more than 7 over there, or there were total. So,
ta-da!
So you're doing okay. Right. Moderation is the key in most cases. Don't harm yourself. Don't harm others. Try to be patient with yourself. Try to be kind. Definitely don't be a fucking asshat. Right. And boundaries. Be honest. You know, a raw, almost hurtful, honest statement is much better than some sweet, sickly sweet little lie.
Right. I've used that as well.
That causes confusion. It causes miscommunication. That's out of the guidelines of integrity and boundaries.
I've used
knowing what you like and what you don't like.
Right.
And standing your ground on that.
Right.
And knowing what you're willing to allow and not allow.
But I've used that as a means of as a club as well. Of like, I'm just being honest, when really I was...
When really you were being a fucking douche.
Welcome to my podcast.
Wow.
Well, see...
But let me ask you this.
Yes,
have you learned from that experience?
Well, at least I've been honest about it, yeah. And I've definitely done some work recently and some writing around some past relationships and like, I still do that. You know, another layer of the onion falls out and you're just like, motherfucker. Like,
the onion is a great metaphor for this work. You keep peeling layers back and you just start crying more. You're just going to cry even more. But
at the same time,
eventually you get to the core.
Like, this is what I'm thinking about this whole conversation, because a piece of me is like really interested in a lot of this, but I also feel like, okay, but I've got so much on my fucking plate, I don't have time to break myself down right now. You know what I mean? I'm doing some writing, I'm doing some work, I'm doing meditating, blah blah blah, but I'm hanging on to these motherfucking Ooh, I'm telling you, food and nicotine are fucking murderers right now. You know what I mean? And I know it's not the food, it's not the nicotine. Mm-hmm. It's a grand swath of fear of the unknown, fear of getting what I want and not getting what I want, and a giant heaping dollop of self-pity. And all that mixed together, it creates this thing where I don't want to fucking grow. I don't want to move forward. I don't want to, when I'm moving forward, things are happening. Don't get me wrong. But like, there's still you know what I mean? Like, it's interesting fucking shit, man. But I can't wait to be more spiritually grounded before I have this fucking album come out. You know what I mean? Like, it's that type of shit. I can't wait to be more spiritually grounded before I fucking move and do what I want to do musically. You understand what I'm saying? So it's interesting. It really is about the fucking journey than the destination, because I get so wrapped up in who I'm supposed to be before these things happen that these things don't fucking happen. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's bothersome. This whole fucking process is bothersome. Join my Patreon.
I think you just
so I don't have
life.
to work anymore. Mm-hmm. You understand? I'm too valuable to work. I shouldn't be, hi, what would you like to eat? Okay? I should be coming on stage to women flashing their titties at me, okay? I don't have time for this shit.
Or you could flash your titties at them.
No, they don't deserve it. I'm very expensive tits. Wow. So,
anyway, welcome back.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So what's your question? Was there a question in there?
Wait a second. I don't think I had a question.
It was more of a rant.
Well, it was a rant because
it was a stylish rant.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But it was a rant because what's your feeling on that? Like, what's the way you see that when it comes to getting ready for, like, because I've got all this shit happen. Like, as an example, the whole idea of the journey versus the destination. And enjoying who you are, even as fucked up as I am. I have no other option. Because the other option is to beat the shit out of myself, which doesn't make me move forward fucking at all. But to look at the shit that I do, or the mistakes I make, and just be aware of them and try to be gentle with myself. It's my least favorite thing, is to be gentle with myself. Ugh.
Well, I'd like to point out just right there that you're actually self-aware of the things that piss you off and make you sad and upset. Yeah. And a lot of people are in such an unconscious state that they don't even realize there are things that are making them angry or mad. That there are things specific that they might actually be able to address, to acknowledge, to go and visit and chat and talk with.
Right.
There are people that just want to just keep moving, keep themselves busy, so that they don't even have to acknowledge that there is something there. Right. You've already taken it a step further than a lot of people.
Yeah. I guess maybe instead of the checking boxes of the American dream, or whatever, like if I have a certain amount of kids and a certain amount of whatever. Although I am checking boxes of if I have a certain amount of fans and a certain amount of albums.
Sure. Hello.
But, at least I'm on the path. At least I'm on the beam, and that's good.
Well, I can say this. Whatever karma, there's another term. Right. Whatever karma we don't heal in this lifetime, it'll just carry over to the next. So don't worry about it.
That sounds like a threat. You piece of
shit. It's encouraging, right?
Fucking take that curse off of me.
Trying to encourage me. You spelled witch wrong.
Yeah, right. So what's with this karma shit? So most people have this, because you posited this interesting idea to me, because I thought the whole karma idea was a punishing idea. The whole karma idea was be a nice guy or you'll get it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So what is it? Because you were saying that some Buddhist or some people see it one way, but it's actually not that way.
Okay, so karma is not a bitch.
Okay.
Karma is not vengeful or hateful or spiteful or anything like that. It's not a sentient thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, and it's not choosing to be a cunt. Sorry. There are some religious sects and spiritual sects around the world that do believe that you will be punished in your next lifetime for doing bad things in this one. In a grander perspective of that, if you're carrying negative circumstances from one lifetime, those negative circumstances are going to get carried over. It's not because you're being punished, it's because you haven't let go of them yet. So karma is really just a way to keep track of what it is that you have chosen to learn in each lifetime on a soul level before each life.
Now, okay. So, but karma...
This is going to be a long one, folks.
These cocksuckers, they love me no matter what.
I didn't say it was bad. I was saying it's going to be long.
But, because, okay, the idea of, like, multiple lives, that doesn't make sense to me because the population is growing. So what is the answer to that?
There could be many answers. The one that I will offer is that souls honestly can come and go.
Okay.
Yeah. When we die, we generally shift into a different altered state of consciousness, and we sort of get to go over everything that we experienced, everything that we learned in this last lifetime. Mm-hmm. But we're not the same person that we are.
Right.
We're in a much more grand, expansive, big picture kind of point of view. You know, we're not attached to those things nearly as much.
Because you don't feel back pain no more, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's an excellent example, and extends to the emotional and the mental as well. Mm-hmm. And so you get to really look at what you learned, what you didn't learn, what you went there to learn, what you didn't learn. And then you get to choose, again, what you want to learn in the next lifetime.
But do you believe that it's consciousness with sentience? Like, is it consciousness that can do, not in the realm of, like, people who haven't fucking transitioned on, but I mean, like, say someone transitioned the fuck, right? They're transition.
See you,
right?
Yeah.
Is there like does a soul in that instance have to make a decision? You know what? I didn't let that go, but I'm going to let it go now. Like, is there a way to, do you feel like there's like a, you know what? Yeah, I did fuck that person, but I'm going to try better next time. You know what I mean? Or is it like, does every loop have to be tied before you get up there? Up there is not the right word, but you know.
That's out there is fine. Yeah, I don't even know. Good question. I think it's probably a little bit more micromanaging than we might want to think. But I do know that there is a great deal of healing that occurs in between states of life.
Okay. But why doesn't consciousness necessarily follow us? I mean, maybe that's why the teachings that you've learned and the books that you've read and the things that you've are maybe put there to help us look back to that. But some people go as far as to say, like, oh, I know exactly what my past lives were, and blah, 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 blah. Do you feel like that those people are charlatans, or do you feel like...
Oh, you mean past life work? I mean, or people being aware of their past lives? Becoming aware?
People who just assume that they know that, oh, yes, I was a dressmaker at 17, blah, 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 blah.
Well, individuals that I've worked with and other practitioners that I've spoken to, a lot of people want to be Attila the Hun. Oh, I know I was Attila. Oh, I know I was Marie Antoinette. Oh, I know I was this famous person.
Right.
Nobody was fucking famous.
Right.
Nobody. It's very rare. It's very rare.
There was like 5 of them for a long time.
There were like 5
Lady
important
Gaga and 77.
In most cases, most people were just, freaking dirt farmers or whatever. Maybe they were royalty. Maybe they were a princess. I've had several clients that actually had a past life where they were a princess, but they were literally locked up and abused by the husband, who came home and did whatever he wanted and then left. And that was the princess's life. Like, I made a cough.
Do they see that consciously? Do they fucking see that in a vision? And again, I'm approaching all of this with open to some of it, a little skeptic of a lot.
Oh, you should be. But absolutely. I was skeptic forever. I was trying to poke holes in all of this shit. It is only because I have witnessed and experienced so much in my life and the synchronicities of other people's lives. At this point now, I simply cannot deny that there is not more happening in the universe and within our concept of reality than we are generally giving credit to.
You know what's a piece of the fear that just hit me? Maybe a part of the reason why I don't want to. This is gonna sound.
It's gonna sound great.
Wildly arrogant, and it is.
This is.
But maybe part of the reason why I don't want to look at how, like, the truth about my soul, or the truth about, maybe not soul is not the right word, but like
your truth.
the power that I have as a performer, as a man, or as a nurturer, or whatever, all the things that I know that I'm good at, I'm a good leader, is because with great power comes great responsibility, and I don't want to have responsibility.
Oh, that shit is terrifying. Are you kidding me?
I would much rather eat pizza and watch Netflix
Absolutely.
than send emails to venues. I would much rather do, you don't understand what I'm saying? Like on a very small level and on a grand scale of like, okay, what if I get everything I want, and then I get caught jerking off in a fucking theater? You know what I mean? Like, because I'm a jerker off in a theater kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like, how do I...
True story.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how do I...
Stepping into one's power is one of the most terrifying and the most rewarding experiences.
Yeah.
It is. But to step into one's power and to self-empower oneself means that there is responsibility.
Right.
You need to become more mindful of your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and your non-actions.
Right.
You have to acknowledge that integrity can be a weapon wielded with grace and kindness, can be very powerful. Power not wielded with grace or dignity or anything else can be very destructive. And I think a lot of us do feel that we are far more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. And I think a lot of us don't give ourselves enough credit to know that we would more likely wield our power with grace than with that destructive force.
On a more real basis, or not real, but on a more less ethereal way, you could put that.
God, these topics
is the idea of okay, if I have a kid, then I have to sacrifice, but I don't want to sacrifice, right? But I know I want to have kids.
Sure.
So it's like, okay, I'll put that on the back burner. You know what I mean? I'm not saying like now I found the right one or anything like for that.
Right.
But okay, I have that idea, but once that happens, then I'm not gonna get everything I want. You know what I'm saying? Like that. I think that fits into the power responsibility idea, because the responsibility feeds that power, which makes that power better, which makes that responsibility higher, which makes it, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's just like, well, fuck it, I'd rather not even play the goddamn game. I mean, my whole soul wants to play the game. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
Like even when I said, "Oh, I hate being nice to myself," it makes me feel the way I want to feel. Why would I hate it? This is a weird episode, man. This is a fucking weird episode.
You're welcome.
I've had so many different types of people on this show.
Yep.
You understand? Like, I'm just the best. I'm just the best.
You really are. Truly the best.
Fake Newtons. So, I guess.
What direction you want to go?
I don't know. What's your goal with music?
My goal with music is to play it as often as possible.
Okay, so you don't have the ego thing that I do.
I have ego. Everyone has ego.
Sure.
In the process of all this self-inquiry over the years, I was taught actually by many mentors and teachers and whatnots that the ego is wrong. It's evil. It's bad. It's trying to control you. Blah 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 blah. I spent 3 years of my life battling my ego, almost physically battling my ego from time to time to time. I would set time aside to try to destroy my ego so that I could be a better person, because I didn't want this thing controlling me or whatever it was doing. It was always a stalemate, or I just got exhausted from the experiences. It wasn't until later on that I realized that our ego is attached to more of our mind than our heart.
Okay.
And the ego knows that it is a finite being. It is a physical form that's born and it's already starting to die, and it will die. It knows this. Ego is actually more afraid than it sounds confident. It sounds confident. It sounds like it's bold and brave and blah, 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 blah. It's terrified. It's terrified because it knows that it's limited. And it is constantly looking for ways to prevent us from either being injured, being hurt, being killed, and it will convince us to do or say whatever we need to do to get ourselves out of a situation or into a situation to get what we want, or whatever. Whereas this concept of the soul, or that inner guidance, that gut instinct, is much more connected to the heart. And it is an infinite source. It doesn't need to source off of anything else. And it is infinitely patient because it's not going anywhere. It is the universe is it. That's where things come from, that's where things go. But it isn't afraid. So the heart is often quiet because it's patient. And it waits for us to realize that the ego, when it's trying to run the show, when we get sick and tired of being sick and tired,
Right.
we start realizing, you know what, ego, this is bullshit. I'm going to start listening to my heart a little bit more. And that's one of the big steps. When I stopped trying to destroy my ego and realized that it was actually something that I could partnership with,
Mm-hmm.
I then spent a great deal of time working out little deals with myself, quote unquote, and my ego, so that we can be on the same page and work together.
Do you almost feel like you're working with a kid? We're like, oh, I know, the wolf is very scary. You're right.
There are some parts of us like our inner children.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I'm not even necessarily saying, whoa, what the fuck? Was it not recording? Card full. Oh, I'm gonna fucking murder somebody. That's all right. I'm gonna switch to the audio through the phone now, so we can put our microphones down.
Okay.
I'm
turning this off.
Yeah. Cocksucker. Well.
So it's not doing video anymore, or what?
No, it's doing video, but not,
hey,
not. So I guess I'll have to transfer that audio somehow to a video. Well, whatever. Actually, yeah, whatever. Anyway,
complications.
I'll tell you what. This is only going to be available for. No, I'm not going to stop.
For a special time only.
No, goddamn it. So what were you saying? You were saying because I don't feel like necessarily it's too like too connected to like an actual inner child, but I'm saying where you almost have to react to it like you're driving the kid to the store, to the doctor.
Yes, I was using the inner child as an example, but the inner child is actually something completely separate. I love my inner child. I think people have lost sight of and connection with their inner children, and those are some boring ass fucking people.
Okay.
I think when we are still willing to allow our inner child to come out and skip around and play and laugh and joke, that's living.
Right.
That is. But there are pieces of us that get lost in time and space, those pieces of trauma, that are often in the guise, when you're in an altered state of consciousness, are in the guise of a small child, usually yourself. And they're at different ages because the different traumas happened at different times. And so sometimes you do need to interact with yourself, your younger self, because it is still a child. It didn't evolve and grow to who you are now. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there are, and the ego. I wouldn't say the ego is childlike, but you do have to wear kid gloves with it. You do have to. You don't want to pamper it, but you don't want to. You don't want to allow itself to get engorged upon itself either. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And so you have to kind of learn this conversation, a dialogue with your own ego, and everyone's ego speaks and feels and thinks differently. But you do have to have a conversation with it, and you have to. It's almost like getting a dog, a rescue animal. It's been traumatized. It's been hurt. It doesn't feel powerful, and so it's ready to bite and snap and growl and whatever. So you need to learn to gain its trust, and for it to know that it can trust you.
And maybe part of the reason why. Correct me if I'm wrong, but part of the reason why you couldn't defeat or it was a stalemate or whatever was because an ego was necessary from the jump anyway.
It is.
You're going to have to work together.
It is part of you.
And it can be utilized for good.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. The ego wants to succeed. Mm-hmm. It wants to succeed. It also wants to be seen. It also wants to be heard. It wants to be acknowledged. But if you learn how to acknowledge it on your own terms, almost contractually, it won't try to source that need outside of you. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You find that you can be your own number one fan. You can be your best cheerleader. You can be your life coach. You can be your everything.
Right.
If you come to terms with these different aspects with yourself.
Right.
Then when you do get adulation from outside, it still feels good.
Well, I remember that specifically.
But it doesn't feed something that needs to be fed.
I had a show, because often when I'm playing a show and I'm in my head about it and I'm feeling like my voice doesn't feel good and I'm not, maybe even the last set will be fucking phenomenal. And then I'll finish, and no matter how many times people are like, oh, yay, I just don't feel it, nope. And not just that, but I want to get away from the people, and I'm like, yes, and I know how to go through the motions of being very gracious and thank you, but I want to just go have a cigarette and watch something and then eat. I don't even want to, and I don't think it's just because I need to decompress. I think part of it is just but I've had times. I remember one specifically after Duvin Wine Bar in Oakland. I had a fucking show, and I was spiritual in that moment. I was just I had a great show.
I like that you use that term.
Let me just enjoy this. And literally the amount of love that I received from the words that people said, I actually let the words into me. I literally teared up. Because I was like, this is the way I want to, it's not even like it's feeding an ego thing, fucking at all. But I didn't need my ego, because if I didn't have my ego at all, I'm not gonna fucking, I wouldn't even be a performer, really. You know what I mean? Probably not. I'd be sitting somewhere fucking on a mountain thinking about shit. You know what I mean? But when in that moment when I was receiving those things, I was like, these people, I gave something to them, and they gave something to me. The ego is almost in that moment, is a channel for my message, for the message of connecting, for the message of love, for the message of joy, for the message of fucking, for the message of truth, for the message of whatever the fuck it is in that musical or in whatever, or even if it's just raw emotion and people attach their own context to it, it's a fucking channel for that shit to get and rub off on other people. You know what I mean? It's a channel for us to communicate and connect and break down all those fucking barriers, which is part of the fucking reason why I have a podcast in the first place, is break down all those fucking barriers. It's interesting shit.
I think you just figured that one out. Very nice.
Do I get a badge of some kind?
You get a figure later.
All right. Man, those were already free. Let's I think we wrap it up. Because it's, now that it's video only, I mean, yeah. I'm gonna have to
We're the last two people here anyway.
I'm going to have to figure out how to detach the audio from the phone from the video and then connect it into the...
That sounds super interesting.
I need an intern. Would you just join my podcast, you fuck? Would you just join my Patreon? Go on to my GoFundMe. My GoFundMe is still alive. Don't even go to the Patreon then. Just throw money at my GoFundMe, because that shit's going to be all funneled to me anyway. Actually, you know what? Fuck that. Don't even goddamn go there, because GoFundMe's going to take money. Go to Venmo. Just find me on fucking Venmo and throw a couple fucking $100 goddamn dollars my way. It's my birthday on June 10th, you cocksuckers. Just give me, do you understand? I'm giving you shit right now. I delivered David fucking Walsh, you fucks. We talked about spirits, bitch. These hoes.
Oh, we didn't even touch the surface.
Well, fucking, I tried to fucking get it with it.
No, you did great.
Well, I want to know more about the malicious spirits and shit, goddammit.
People don't actually need to know about that.
I'm gonna fucking. If I wasn't tired, I would pull it out of you now. But yes, we.
Maybe some other time. You know, I am never ever a proponent of things being held back, information or knowledge being held. I think that when we learn something, it's knowledge, and when we put the principles of that knowledge in the actions and our thoughts of our daily life and lifestyle, that's when knowledge becomes wisdom. And I would never deny anyone wisdom, but I think that without more foundational knowledge, that talking about potentially malicious thinking for themselves spirits is probably not the greatest topic to offer people right away.
Delicious.
Go read some books, people, and I'll come back.
What books should people find?
All of them. I'll give you 2 books. Smile at Fear by Chogaram Trungpa.
If they search Smile at Fear.
Smile at Fear.
Okay, thank you.
With the crazy name. And When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chodron. When Things Fall Apart and Smile of Fear. Swear to God, those 2 books, I suggest them to every single fucking client. I almost make it required reading. Don't even worry about the title. You will get something from those books, and it may very well be profound. And if it's not, that's okay. But it's beautiful. Those tomes, they are tomes of extraordinary wisdom. Mind-numbing.
Can people find? Are you willing
Amazon.
to? No. Can people find you so they can talk?
Absolutely. I am at standingground.biz. I am actually in the process of designing my new website. I'm very excited about. My old website kind of reflected. I designed it myself from scratch. I'm very proud of myself. But I lost a lot of the information because of blackouts and brownouts and internet hoopajoo. So it was a thing. It took me like 8 months, which it should have taken me like 8 hours. I will have a new website, and I am redesigning my business model. I am giving discounts to individuals who are actively in the performing arts. Singers, songwriters, musicians, dancers, jugglers. I don't care what it is. If you are in the performing arts, or if you are an individual,
no
jugglers. I didn't say mimes.
All right.
If you are actively in the performing arts, or if you are an individual who is a patron of the performing arts, I give a huge discount to those individuals. Absolutely.
And it's standingground.biz.
Standingground.biz, and I am David Walsh. I am standingground.biz on Facebook. It's also my website, and I'm also Dave Walsh on Facebook. That's where you'll find some of my funnier stuff, but not as crude.
A lot of Star Wars references.
Fuck yeah, a lot of Star Wars references.
And a lot of sexual banter with you and I and my brother.
No, that just happens in your head.
Banter is actually the name of the dildo I use on you. So I don't know. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just wondering when you changed the name.
What was the original name? Cheesecake, right?
Cupcake.
Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, you can support this podcast at patreon.com/conservatish. You can subscribe. That would be very nice of you if you could share this with your friends and like the video. You can also leave us a review on iTunes or anywhere else you're listening to this. And we'll see you June 7th at RBA Creative with Jefferson Berge, and little David Walsh will be there as well. Boink. And keep August 17th open in your calendars.
Yeah.
You're going to want to do that.
Oh, album release.
Boom. And more details to come. Love you all very much. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Fig Newtons.
There's my junk.
There it is.